Thank you for your interest in Missouri Special Education State Performance Plan and Annual Performance Report process. The Special Education State Performance Plan, or SPP, is required by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, and is a set of performance indicators established by the Federal Office of Special Education Programs. Each state must address all of the indicators by setting annual targets for improvement and identifying and implementing strategies that will enable the state to meet those targets. These targets apply to both the state as a whole and to each local school district within the state. The Annual Performance Report, or APR, reports on the state's performance compared to the established targets, and Special Education District Profiles publicly report on district performance compared to the targets. This is a list of the SPP indicators. The second column indicates whether we need to set targets for future years or if the target is automatically set at 0% or 100% because the indicator is a compliance requirement of IDEA or its regulations. Each of the indicators that say "Need to Set" in the Targets column will have a separate recording that introduces the indicator measurement and requests feedback on target options as well as improvement activities. Your input is critical in order to have an SPP that reflects the priorities of our stakeholders. The SPP that we will submit to OSEP in February of 2022 must include targets for the next 6 years. There are a few basic requirements for setting targets, one of which is that targets must be set with stakeholder input. These recordings and the associated surveys are one way that we are gathering stakeholder input on the targets. The other requirement is that the target for the last year must show improvement over the actual data from our baseline year. The baseline year is when we started measuring the indicator data, and the targets are the goal for where we want to be in the future. This slide shows the baseline data in the blue bar. The colored lines are options for future targets. Targets for years 1 through 5 could increase, stay flat, or even decrease. The one thing they all have in common is that the target for year 6 is always above the baseline data. You are likely familiar with the concept of SMART goals. The SMART concept applies to the SPP indicators and targets as well. S stands for specific or simple, and M stands for measurable. Each of the indicators involves one concept, and the measurement of that concept is generally defined by OSEP. For example, Indicator 1 looks at the percent of students who exit high school with a regular diploma. The indicator language tells us specifically what we are looking for, and the measurement or calculation is defined in the SPP instructions. I'm going to skip the A and the R for a minute. The T stands for time-bound. A good SMART goal always makes it clear when the target is to be reached. For the SPP, we are setting annual targets for each indicator. Therefore, the indicators are automatically time-bound. A stands for achievable, and R stands for rigorous or relevant. A rigorous target would be challenging or might push the limits. This is where selection of the annual targets really becomes important, because targets need to be a balance between challenging and achievable. For example, thinking about Indicator 2 and dropouts, we may want to say that there will be no dropouts ever, but that may not be an achievable goal. So as you are providing feedback on the target options presented, keep in mind the balance between a really challenging goal and what is achievable. In the feedback surveys, we will always give you an other option if you want to provide an alternative to the target options we present. Without a plan to make improvements, the targets are just numbers. So in addition to asking for your feedback on the targets, we want to get your input on improvement activities. The feedback surveys include the 3 questions you see here. What is happening that is making a positive difference for this indicator now? These are practices or activities that we would want to promote or expand. What's making a negative difference now? These are practices that we might want to discourage or find alternatives for. Lastly, what's not happening that could make a positive difference? These could be simple solutions or complex systems. Altogether, these 3 questions will enable the state and local school districts to meet the targets that we are setting. We need your feedback. You'll find indicator recordings and feedback surveys on the SPP APR Stakeholder Information webpage shown here. Questions about this process should be emailed to speddata@desi.mo.gov. Thank you for your participation.